Louis Quilico was one of the leading operatic baritones of the 20th century. His sudden passing on July 15, 2000 was a great loss to the musical world. Quilico performed at many of the world's great opera houses: Covent Garden, the Paris Opera, the Bolshoi, and the Vienna Staatsoper, to name only a few. He was a stalwart of the Metropolitan Opera, appearing nearly 300 times over 25 consecutive years. At the Met, he sang under the baton of James Levine, Zubin Mehta, Richard Bonynge and Claudio Abbado, and alongside tenors including Luciano Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, John Vickers and José Carreras, and sopranos Joan Sutherland, Renata Tebaldi, Renata Scotto, and Beverly Sills. Louis Quilico was an ideal interpreter of the great Italian and French composers, but it was his defining portrayal of Rigoletto, the hunchbacked jester in Verdi's tragic masterpiece, that won him international acclaim, as well as the nickname Mr. Rigoletto. He sang the role more than 500 times, the last being at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa in September of 1994. After his retirement from the operatic stage in 1998, he continued to perform, touring extensively with his wife, the celebrated pianist Christina Petrowska Quilico. Together they made 4 recordings and a teaching video, and collaborated on the book Mr. Rigoletto in Conversation with Louis Quilico. In this book, Quilico shared his views on singing, on opera, and on his signature role, Rigoletto. He also talked about his own personally devised vocal techniques, sharing them with a new generation of singers. What is missing in the printed version of these conversations is Quilico's own voice and his unique personality. In these recordings, we hear him speak in his own words, with his own voice, unfiltered and unedited. Speaking personally, baritone Louis Quilico, Mr. Rigoletto, in conversation with Christina Petrowska Quilico. In this conversation, Louis continues to discuss his favorite opera, Rigoletto, from Rigoletto's meeting with Sparafucile to the vendetta duet with Gilda, after the Duke has had his way with her.
By the name of Sparafucile, who's an assassin, even says to him, he says, well, listen, being that you have your woman there and you got enemies, and Rigoletto says, no, I don't have any enemies. But in the mind of Rigoletto is that he's got an enemy, that any time it might happen that somebody's going to come around. That means if he can have these people kill or something like that, that would be, and that is the assassin would work for him. Anyway, the man says to him at the end, just before he leaves, he says to him, my name is Sparafucile. And Rigoletto says, go, 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 go. Then all of a sudden, the first reaction of Rigoletto after this man gone, his reflection is a very simple one, but it demonstrates exactly what kind of man he is, Rigoletto himself. He says about Sparafucile, we are equal. He's got the dagger and I got the tongue. And right there, it explains to you what kind of character Rigoletto is. And that is the thing that Rigoletto is scared about in his life, that one of these days somebody will want to revenge themselves and do something and maybe he doesn't know if they will abduct his daughter, but he expects that something similar, because it has been done before. He was in charge for many of these abductions for the Duke, you know. Anyway, then Rigoletto starts to do a monologue by himself, thinking. Let me see. Let me try to think about this dialogue. Rigoletto starts to talk about how he is deformed, and the court asks him, for instance, make us laugh, and he says, I have to make them laugh. Let me see. Hold on a moment. Then the famous maledictions come back to his mind. The old man cursed me, because that's the first thing he says in this scene that we just started. Is the first word he says. The old man cursed me. But in certain way, you can play it different way. You can play it being scared, the old man cursed me, or you can play it differently. And I always play it differently for one reason. There's 3 times exactly the same phrase, the old man cursed me, the old man cursed me, and the old man cursed me. And the best thing to do for me, it was to change the idea of the old man cursed me. The first one, he doesn't believe it. It's a fable. He's a little bit tipsy on top of that. He's drinking, and he doesn't want to believe in this thing. Then the dialogue comes in. And he says, "I'm crippled. I'm deformed, and I have to make them laugh." He says, and my boss is a young man. I'm an old man, and he more or less describes himself as a very unimportant person, but at the same time, he knows he's very important. And then after that, he starts to talk about again this thing, how he is crippled again. And second of all, comes up, there's a motivation in the music that gives you exactly what Rigoletto all of a sudden changed. And all of a sudden, his daughter, the house where she is, it's the treasure. This is the thing. All of a sudden, the whole thing changed for one phrase. But then all of a sudden, comes back the malediction. And then it is the moment that really Rigoletto believes that he has been damned. And that damnation that he's got from the old man, Monterone is a killer for him. He doesn't know how to cope with it and everything. And then all of a sudden, oh no, I'm funny. And then all of a sudden he starts to think about, maybe I'm imagining things, because he's a man that has tremendous up and down. You never know how to take him. And this is, for instance, how can I say this? His rapport with his daughter is always very difficult for that reason. Because the daughter doesn't know how to really take her father. Is he mad? Is he not mad? And he tantrums, is a man that's full of tantrum. Because right after this, you see the man with the tantrum that he comes out with, And all of a sudden, and like I said before, all of a sudden there's something that disturbs him, and all of a sudden he comes up and he says, no, it's not true. And then finally he says, no, it's craziness, it's folly, and he walks in the house. Walking in the house, the first thing he meets, it's his daughter. And you see him, how tender he is to receive his daughter. And his daughter starts to talk to him, that more or less that she missed him and all that. And all of a sudden, the conversation starts that, but Daddy, could you help me something? I would like to know what is my name. And Rigoletto, when he hears that, he doesn't want to tell her. And the thing is, it's very difficult for him, and more or less, this is where the tantrum of Rigoletto comes. He will say to her, "You don't have a name." And that is the thing that shows exactly the character of Rigoletto.
Why does he say she doesn't have a name?
Because he doesn't want to tell her what's her name.
But she knows her name is Gilda.
Yes, her name is Gilda, but Gilda who?
I see.
You see, if he would say Rigoletto, Gilda Rigoletto, what would be? You see, she would make 2 and 2 makes 4. And then after that, all of a sudden, the conversation...
Well, explain that. 2 and 2 makes 4.
Well, 2 and 2 makes 4. The thing is, if he would say the name Rigoletto, and that's why he says, tell me my name, you don't have one. By not saying the name, he doesn't want her to find out who he is. Because I'm possibly sure there's some people around, and this is the point. Rigoletto never comes home dressed as a buffon or anything like that. And his daughter doesn't know what he's doing. And that's the thing that's very difficult for her to observe. She does not only ask about that. For instance, she start to talk about her mother. And please, Daddy, how was Mommy? And all of a sudden, he comes up again with another burst to stop her. Then she says finally, please, tell me a little bit about my mother. I would like to know. And then Rigoletto becomes very calm. He becomes calm and starts to explain to her that once upon a time, and this is the point with Rigoletto. For instance, when he talks about the mother at that point here, that he's going to explain to Gilda, all of a sudden, Gilda doesn't exist. He's funny like that, you know. It's that kind of a character that gets out. He starts to explain her, but the explanation is not a direct explanation to her. Your mother, I lost her, and she's 6 feet under the ground, and all that. And all of a sudden, there's one place where he's turned around and he says, but the only thing I have left in this world, it's you. And now you see the other side of Rigoletto. And all of a sudden, Gilda says, well, she's got to venture herself. She says, well, Daddy, you know, I'll never go outside the house, you know. But at the same time, the way she asks that, she's always on the expecting to be rebuffed or something like that, because I'm possibly sure it's not the first time they have that kind of conversation. But all of a sudden she asks him, she says, but Daddy, is it possible that, maybe once in a while I could go to church? And he says, no, don't you go out. You don't know what's out there and all that. And he's so crazy about it. He's so scared. Because he knows that the moment she would walk out of the house, and he has an old lady that takes care of her. But this old lady is sold. She's part of the clan of the Duke. And you see it later. I'll tell you a little bit later. But anyway, all of a sudden, he starts to, then all of a sudden his whole moods change again and explain wait a minute, I'm trying to, all of a sudden he starts to explain to her about his own self. is a cripple, and then he comes to the mother. When he comes to the mother, he becomes very tender, and he even takes Gilda in his arm, And it's funny because this is what Rigoletto is. He's so, in Italian we say, so furioso. Furioso, it means...
so furious.
Huh?
So furious.
Not only, it's not exactly furious. It's a man that has no border. It's either completely enraged or the opposite. You understand? And this is the thing that is, in certain way, it makes it very interesting to play for that reason. Because you're never on one plateau. You go and you sing in different plateaus. And this is the beauty of it. Anyway, and all of a sudden there's a beautiful duet with her, and to each his own. They have their own their own thought, And his thought is that it's his daughter, and I want to keep my daughter the way she is, and all that, And I'm trying to think. God. Then in this duet, the Rigoletto is talking about the mother and all that stuff, and she's talking about she would have liked to know her mother and all that. But it's very different. But it's a duet. It's very beautiful. Towards the end of the duet, all of a sudden he hears noise, and he's wondering what is this noise. And he goes in the street, and look. While he goes in the street, the Duke comes inside his courtyard, hides, and you see the tremendous thing between the Duke and the old lady, because the old lady sold the daughter of Rigoletto. Anyway, Rigoletto walks in and he says, when you go to church, is anybody following you? And the daughter said, no, why? And he keeps saying, please stay here, don't you go out, and stay here. And finally, they finished with a duet again to say, my dear daughter, I love you, and all that stuff. And finally, there's an embrace, and Rigoletto leaves. After Rigoletto leaves, comes the Duke and start to declare his love for Gilda. Before that, you see a thing happening between, again, the Duke and the old lady. And all of a sudden, the Gilda, I've seen this man in church. And she's tremendously in love. And the first thing you know, she cannot resist him. She doesn't mind to speak to him all of a sudden. Because she could have thrown him out. But she doesn't dare throw him out because her love for him is stronger than anything else. And that reaffirmed the Duke that this woman loves him. And this is a glory. And all of a sudden they, how can I say, they declare their love to each other. And it more or less, finally the Duke leaves. While he leaves, all the courtier comes in, and they have organized that they will adopt Gilda. And all of a sudden, she sings a beautiful Caro Nome, this famous song that is sung all the time in the theater. And she's declared how Caro Nome means a beautiful name. That means it's the Duke. And she's completely gone about the Duke. And the first thing you know, after she finished this song, while she sings, you see all the courtiers creeping in, and they even say, well, this is where it is, and they arranged to bring a ladder, but this is the famous ladder that they're going to go in the house of Rigoletto. All of a sudden, they are surprised that Rigoletto comes in. Rigoletto comes back home, and they don't know what to do. All of a sudden, they're stuck right there, and one has the brilliant idea to say, listen, let's tell him that we are here to adopt the wife of Ceprano, because it seems that Ceprano lives right next to Rigoletto. And all of a sudden, well, they come and grab Rigoletto, and give him the more or less, they put this letter on the wall. But the thing is, what they do, they put him a bandage in his, to close his eyes, and it's very, very, very dark. And all of a sudden, they start to talk about the abduction, and they keep Rigoletto apart, and they put him right next to his house, and Rigoletto doesn't know, because they play tricks with him. They even make him turn, and all of a sudden he loses completely the direction of his house. And all of a sudden, holding this thing, all of a sudden they finally go inside the house, abduct Gilda, and they pass him. All of a sudden, from a distance, Rigoletto, holding the ladder, hears the voice of his daughter. And he says, "What is this?" And all of a sudden, she screams one more time, and all of a sudden takes off the bandage in front of his eyes and realizes that he went inside his house. And now he goes inside the house, and he's like a completely madman. Now he starts to scream, he starts to cry, and all of a sudden, at the end of this, you see him running out and going out to the Duke's palace. That is the end for this. Anyway, comes the third act. The third act is in one of the big rooms of parlor of the Duke of the palace. All of a sudden, you see the Duke starting to sing. That you see this beautiful creature even went to the place and all that, and he would like to have this woman. And that's the whole area is because of that, you know. All of a sudden, the courtier walks in, and all of a sudden they start to. Let me see. The first thing they say to him. They say that they have abducted the daughter, the woman of Rigoletto, and all of a sudden the Duke is so incredibly happy. And during the meantime, before the Duke starts to come in and start to sing another aria, the courtier start to explain him exactly how it happened, and he enjoys it. And all of a sudden, at the end, they say, "Well, listen, your famous woman that you want is in your room." And when he sees like that, he sings what they call a cabaletta. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And all of a sudden, at the end of it, with a high note, he goes in his room, and that's it. All of a sudden, while the Duke goes in the room, all of a sudden, the courtier are caught inside because Rigoletto arrived. And from a distance, Marullo sees him coming. And he says, "Oh, poor Rigoletto is coming." And everybody says, "Well, let's play him a trick." All of a sudden, he walks, from a distance, you hear the voice of Rigoletto, "La la, la la, la la, la la." And all of a sudden, arrive inside, and all of a sudden he said to them, he said, "You seem to have had a lot of fun during the night." They said, "Oh no, we did not have fun. We were sleeping." "Oh, you were sleeping. I guess I must have been sleeping too. But I can tell you one thing. I remember certain things." And he goes to Marullo and asks, and all of a sudden, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't go towards Marullo. But the thing is, oh boy. When I want to explain, I'm so lousy. Oh God. Anyway, the courtier says, "Well, listen, we didn't do nothing and everything." Well, he says, "You know, it's funny. I guess I must have been dreaming, because I remember very well to have heard you not seen you, but I've heard you, and something happened. And they said to him, says, well, we were there to abduct somebody, but, and all of a sudden Rigoletto says, but you know who you have adopted? And they said, no, you have adopted my daughter. And when they hear the daughter, everybody freeze. They freak completely. This is the thing that very often it gets me mad when I do this opera, because chorus don't understand what exactly is happening at that moment. And you need a tremendous reaction from the chorister, because they're the one who can make Rigoletto understood what has happened. Anyway, they said, then another thing that happened, just before he tells them that it's his daughter, there's a page that comes in and says, where's the Duke? And they said, well, he's gone hunting. Without this page, without his hammer. And they said, would you please shut up? And they throw him out. And that's how Rigoletto realized that something is happening right now in this room. And all of a sudden, he started to ask them what is happening, and they said nothing happened. And all of a sudden, he gets very, very, hysteric. And he wants more or less beating everybody. And all of a sudden, they grab him and they throw him on the floor. And this is where he starts to sing his famous aria, Cortigiani vil razza dannata, court of lepers, debased and corrupted, you have taken and sold my beloved. And I have to say one thing, it's a tremendous aria. And Verdi was a master for these things. You know, you would come in at the right moment, at the right time, with an aria that really dig your sentimentation. Anyway, he keeps on going, and one moment during the aria, he says, this is the door where she is, and he runs towards the door, and all the courtier grabs him and throw him down the floor again. And now he finished the aria, and he even begged them, he says, please, give me back my daughter, give me back my daughter. And he finished on this. While he finished, all of a sudden, the door opened, the door he was talking, the door opened, and his daughter comes out of it. And she runs to him, and all of a sudden, he start to say to the people, the courtier, oh, please, this is nothing happened, huh? You didn't do nothing to my daughter. And he become very hysteric, till at a certain point he says, get the hell out of here, because tell the Duke that if I see him, I'm gonna kill him. It's exactly what in his intention. Now he's not afraid of nothing. He's not afraid of, because for him, life has treated him so badly that for him is not passion, but his rage become so violent that he cannot control himself. Finally, all the courtiers get out. Then he remains alone with Gilda. And all of a sudden, there's a moment that is so beautiful. And I always ask the Gilda to do this. It's a moment of, at first, Rigoletto doesn't look at her. She doesn't look at him. Then all of a sudden, in a chord, a beautiful chord, they both turn towards each other, and he presents his hand. But her, she cannot come to him because she is too shy. Because in certain way, what happened, I have to say that I think she doesn't mind, because she's so much in love with the man that he did a job, you know. Anyway, all of a sudden, she started to explain to him what exactly happened. That she went to church one day and she sees this young man, you know, and Rigoletto, in his mind, this is the beauty of it right now. All of a sudden, hearing everything that she says to him, all of a sudden, It's not her. This is what is so incredible with Rigoletto. Rigoletto, everything, the malediction, anything that happened, even the thing of his daughter and everything, it's not happening to her. It happened to him. And this is the thing that's very interesting. While she sings all this, explaining him, that he came to the house, and I saw him, and he left. Then after that, they abduct me, and the first thing I know, here I am. And all of a sudden, Rigoletto, in his mind, he says one word: only for me. Solo per me, only for me, the infamy. That means it's not his daughter. The infamy, it's to him. She's the one who went through, but no. He sees it only for himself. It was him. The old man cursed him and everything. The infamy, it's him. It has nothing to do with his daughter. This is the way he is. He believes. And all of a sudden, he starts having a tremendous tantrum, and solo per me l'infamia, a te chiedeva Dio che la potessi scendere tanto per dire. Anyway, it's all report of this malediction, what do you call it, the thing that happened to Gilda, and that is the thing that he cannot accept. And all of a sudden, in his what do you call folie, you would say, all of a sudden, he finished a phrase, and from a distance, he heard Gilda crying, and the whole world of Rigoletto changed, and all of a sudden, it's his daughter. He goes to her, grabs her in his arm, and tries to console her. And, like a real father, love, 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 love. And then it goes till the end of that duet with her. It's a beautiful duet, I have to say. It's incredible. Then comes the old Monterone. Walks in, because he's sending to be hanging or something like that, and all of a sudden he swears that the malediction would be on the Duke, and Rigoletto, when he hears this, all of a sudden the whole thing turn. Gilda is not there anymore. All of a sudden is the Duke and Rigoletto. All of a sudden Rigoletto, hearing the old man cursing the Duke, Rigoletto gets up and says, "But I tell you, I am the one who will fulfill your vengeance." And that's where he starts to sing his famous duet with her, and it's one of the greatest duets that it raised the public like you have no idea. It's called Si Vendetta, means vendetta. What do you say? No, vengeance. Yes, vengeance. And it talks about that vengeance. She comes to him, she begs of him, she says, "No, get out." She comes again, repeat, "No, get out." And he goes up, till the end. His vengeance. And at the end, he finishes with a high note and everything, but the thing is, it's vengeance. And when he finished with her, he turns towards her, and he wants to go in the room and kill the Duke. But Gilda puts herself in front, crossing in front of him, and he cannot pass his daughter. His daughter has a tremendous power on Rigoletto. But Rigoletto he does not realize these things. All of a sudden, it was the vengeance. All of a sudden, he's going to go and kill the Duke, and all of a sudden, he sees his daughter. He says, "Oh, well, no, I can't. This is my daughter. I got to get her out of here," and all that.